Welcome back. InnerCity Scholarships is a not-for-profit organization dedicated to making a quality Catholic school education a viable choice for low-income families. For many families, tuition expenses are an insurmountable burden, especially during the pandemic. The fund actually changes lives for the better, providing families with financial needs the opportunity to give their children a quality, values-based K through 12 Catholic education within the Archdiocese of the City of New York. The organization exists to ensure the gift of an excellent Catholic school education is a viable option for students of all faiths today and also for future generations to come. Here now to share a little bit more is the director, and I should say the executive director of InnerCity Scholarship Fund, Susan George. And Susan joins us here, and welcome to the Social Justice Forums.
Thank you, Daren. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate it. And as one who's attended Catholic school and come from the inner cities, I can really appreciate this segment altogether. So thank you for being here with us. I want to talk about that because really when we talk about Catholic school, for a lot of people, Catholic school is an option, but it's not an option. And many times the option is not available simply because of financial means. And so I know your organization goes front and center at trying to bridge that gap and allowing students to have that opportunity.
Exactly. Yes. InnerCity Scholarship Fund has been around for 50 years, Daren. In 2021, we will be celebrating our 50th anniversary in August. And we were founded by Cardinal Cook, who at that time saw a lot of traditional families who were using the Catholic schools for their children's education, who were making that choice, were moving to the suburbs. The immigrants were changing in the city. We saw a new immigrant population coming in, and we wanted to make our schools accessible and affordable. And Cardinal Cook reached out to a few business people in New York and said, you know, I'm really worried about my schools. Can we have a dinner? And that's how we were founded 50 years ago. And today we proudly help over 11,000 children in New York City gain access to a Catholic school. And it's the school of their choice. The families choose the school, and we're just here to help them with scholarship assistance so they can make it possible for them and make sure that the Catholic schools are still an option for families.
Yeah, and families do have that option, right, to be able to choose their own school. So it can be any Catholic school, am I correct?
Any Catholic school, yes, any Catholic school.
Yeah.
We just, you know, we want to actually make it a possibility for a family, and a lot of families would like to stay in their neighborhoods and keep it local. And that's what we also try to do is you can go to your neighboring Catholic school where you can walk to school or take the bus. And we want to make that possible. You know, as you would expect, our schools, we charge tuition. We don't get any federal or state help for, you know, towards the tuition, and we have to pay our teachers. And back in the good old days, Daren, I think even before your time, our schools were run by sisters. They were run mostly, you know, predominantly by nuns, and they were wonderful educators, and they weren't paid. So if you ask people, you know, back in the 30s and 40s and 50s, they're like, I don't know who paid, we just went to school. Well, today we have our teachers and our administrators are lay people, and we try to pay them competitively, and health insurance and everything that goes with it. And in order to do that, we have to charge tuition. The tuition in none of our schools does the tuition cover the cost to educate. The Archdiocese is very generous to the schools and makes it possible to keep, you know, to keep them open and available to New Yorkers who want to go. Our program helps the parent. So our program helps the parent with their part of the tuition, and our scholarships will cover up to 80% if needed for a family. So we are available to any family who feels that they need help, and we look at their financials and we listen to the families and we help where we can. So
Right.
if your child is in a Catholic school and they want to remain so for high school, we will be there all the way through. Our success is the day they graduate. That's our success.
Yeah. And so what's the application process like? Because some people might say, is it an arduous process? Is it hard? Talk to us about it.
No, it's not. We send you a link, and we have a call center And we have bilingual and we have people who speak many languages. And if a family is struggling to access the link or to apply online, they call us and we walk them through it and we do everything we can to assist them. We do ask, the schools are a big part of it. The schools will help us identify the family. So the first step, Daren, is to visit a Catholic school, is to visit the school and say, this is the school that I would like my child to attend. And then you speak to the administration at that school and they will then forward you to us and say, we have a family who's interested, who needs a little bit of help to make this possible.
So criteria, what is the criteria for anybody that's going to be an applicant? Somebody says, what does it take?
It just takes someone who wants to go to Catholic school, who needs help. Someone who needs financial help. There's really not criteria. I mean, Daren, they have to be in academic good standing. The children have to have passing grades. So, and even that, if a child comes to us and they're struggling academically, we do give them a little bit of time to try to turn things around. And we work with them. We work with their principals. We work with them. If they require tutoring or if they require more help, we'll do everything we can. Once they're in our schools, we really don't want to lose them. So as long as they're in academic good standing and they have, conduct, of course, as you know, Catholic schools pride themselves on conduct. But I've been here 16 years. We have never removed a child from our program because of conduct. And I can count on one hand how many because of academics.
Once you're in, is what you said.
Once you're in, you're in. Once you're in, you're in. And again, it's not a hard process. It really isn't. We just want to make it possible for the families who want to come. And not everyone gets the same amount. We do a sliding scale based on need. And our schools, are not free. The charter schools are, I think the charter schools are tremendous and have helped a lot of New Yorkers with school choice. And they are free, and we can't be free because we have to pay our teachers and our principals and our custodians and everyone that makes our schools possible. But we do our absolute best to keep the tuition affordable for families.
Talk to me about COVID-19 and the work that you're doing. How has COVID-19 impacted the application process and really staying connected and doing what you're doing?
Well, the application process is definitely slower. I think we just opened for renewals last week, and we're seeing, we can only compare from last year at this time to this year. And we're a little bit under, not too much so, but families have a lot on their plates. So again, we're reaching out, we're making calls, we're trying to do the best that we can to help families. But COVID itself, what we have seen, Daren, is we've seen quite a few families, as a matter of fact, over 1,000 families come to us for help who have never asked for help before. I can give you, a lot of examples. I'll give you one that just sticks out. A father phoned me. He has 2 girls in Catholic school, and he's a violinist. He plays in orchestras. He hasn't worked since March. And he said, I have to keep my girls in school. Can you help me? We very quickly mobilized in the spring, and we raised a fund for COVID. We call it COVID ETA, COVID emergency tuition. And that application process is very simple because it's for the families already in our schools. And family reaches out and says, I've been impacted by COVID and here's the situation. We give them, 1 month, 2 month, 3 months tuition. So we're paying their tuition as much as we can, and they can come back to us. So we've given almost $3 million away in COVID emergency tuition, and we're going to keep going. So we will not lose a family for COVID. But we are seeing the demand go up. We really are. And listen, I should say that I'm here saying we're going to help every family. We have to raise the money to make that possible. So
right.
We're doing our best, and hopefully this will be behind us. And one other thing that we did, Daren, in the spring, we looked at all of our families on scholarship, and our families on scholarship are they're really earnest about paying their tuition. They know that they're getting help and they pay their part of the tuition. We looked at all the families who were on scholarship who were missing payments, and we reached out to them, and a majority of them, we paid an extra payment for them so they could start the fall with, feeling comfortable. If you're struggling to pay rent, and you're struggling to put food on your table, tuition seems like a luxury, and we don't want to lose these kids. So we've worked really hard to keep providing help for the families. But it has to be paid. you can't just leave these balances on the books, right? Because if we don't collect our money, if the archdiocese and, the school doesn't, if the school doesn't collect their money, then they can't pay their payroll. So someone has to pay it. So if the family doesn't pay it, we're stepping in where we can, but it's not as if it just can't be paid. There's a difference.
Yeah. And I know it's got to be a great feeling being able to help out so many people during such a time as this. I mean, COVID, still being able to raise the funds to help somebody in COVID relief. But for somebody who doesn't know where your funds come from and how you raise your funds, give us a little bit about that, because I do know that there's some fundraising that goes on with this.
Yeah, Daren, we raised over $20 million last year, and where we raise it from very generous New Yorkers. There are a lot of people who just really care about education. They want to help the underserved community. They genuinely think that, they think that the Catholic schools work, that, we're successful. They want these children to be successful. We want them to go back into their communities and be leaders in their communities and be employed. And we do very well. It's really just generous New Yorkers, if I can be honest. We do get some foundation support and some corporate support. The Alfred E. Smith Foundation was very generous to us this year with COVID emergency funding. But it's really just a combination of a lot of people. Over 6,000 people a year contribute to our work. And, when you tell the story and you say, here's this child and we're going to give them the opportunity of an education like yourself, and say, this is going to be the outcome, people are like, sign me up. So we do very well. And look, we have a lot of competition. And, we also partnered during COVID, we partnered with Catholic Charities, and we gave over 500 or even more, 500 plus families help with food assistance and paying their bills. And, all of our families who were struggling with COVID, we connected them to many resources to make sure that they were okay.
Mm-hmm. Give me a little bit from your perspective on the future. What does the future look like for you guys? Obviously, you're still helping students on a daily basis and getting ready for this next upcoming school year. Talk to us about what the future looks like.
Hopefully the future looks bright. We're hoping that our enrollment stays steady. This year we had to close some schools, which we were not expecting to do because of COVID. We were under enrolled and we were nervous. And then, really surprisingly so, when other schools didn't open in person and families were looking for in-person instruction, we had over 2,500 families apply to Catholic schools after COVID. So I think for us, the future looks bright. Again, I encourage parents who are watching this to please, look at the Catholic school in your neighborhood as an option, and don't just look at the tuition and say, I can't afford it, because we will try to help you if we can. In the Bronx, Daren, we have 4,100 students. We get scholarships from our organization in 23 different elementary schools and 12 high schools. So we're trying our hardest to really help the Bronx. And again, if you're looking for a school or unhappy where you are, I hope that you would consider looking at a Catholic school.
Yeah. Before we go, if you have any final thoughts you want to share with us today?
Any final thoughts? Well, I think, my final thought is, well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'd love to know where you went to school, Daren.
I went to actually I went to St. Joseph's going up. I'll go back. I start off at St. David's in Manhattan. Went to St. Joseph's on Harlem on Morningside Drive. Went to Power Memorial years ago, where Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was. That's closed down. And then since then we went to Rice High School, and that's closed down. So I have a long Catholic tradition.
Yeah. I know Rice. I was around when Rice closed. It was sad. It was really sad. It was run by the Irish Christian Brothers, and a lot of great people came out of Rice. And, we would love to, not have to close more schools and open our doors to families that want to consider us. So my final thoughts are, thank you. And, to tell families, please, know that people out there care about you, and the church cares about you. The church loves you, and we help all New Yorkers, regardless of their religion. We say that we help them because we're Catholic, not because they're Catholic. And we have many children in our schools who don't share our faith, who have other faiths, and we welcome all faiths. I think that's what New York is. New York is a melting pot. And I think that the Catholic schools, Daren, have served the city very well for over 100 years. And I hope we continue to do so.
Well, I know I certainly would not be here today sitting the way that I'm sitting right now if it wasn't for a Catholic school education and helping me to lead and guide me too. So, Susan, thanks a lot for being here with us and
My
continue the work.
pleasure.
Yeah, yeah. So, gotta have you back.
All right. I'd love to come back. Thanks so much, Daren.
All righty, thank you. And
Take
listen, we
care.
got to take a quick break. Oh, take care. We got to take a quick break here on the show. Don't go anywhere. We've got more show coming up with the social justice forums after this.